Anti-cav is frustrating at times. As the wheel of a pike or polearm, but a mere fraction of the whole army, every infantry around you expects you to do something to protect them from the charge of deadly horses. Spinning around in 360-degree circles and expertly tuning into the noises of galloping hooves, you spot your target, a charging hardy. You thrust, but are barreled over and lanced for almost a third of your health. You're padded, hardly absorbing anything. As you stand to your feet, an enemy berserker swings and decapitates you. If this sounds all too familiar, you probably asked yourself, what went wrong? Well, for that we need to understand the context and take a look at this tree. 90 guard is the end goal, with the 100% chance to stop a horse on a torso or headshot hit. Now, the tree looks a little bit like a Charlie Brown tree. Boom. This is your trunk ending at 90 guard. Along the way, you do have some choices, one of them being 90 Spearman, or you can go for 90 militia. Now, the choices as far as this tree are concerned are more involved in the growth of the tree. And we shall look at the sapling form of the anti-cav tree. You get the glaive. Short pike, of course, being the stationary, long spear-looking one, and the glaive being the... So, the short pike is unlocked at 30 spearmen. To always stop a horse with torso hits, even as soon as you unlock it. Now, what you do have to worry about is the pike slipping us out. Really, it only happens about 5% of the time. The glaive, on the other hand, will stop 100% of the time with a headshot.
Let's take a moment to observe the pike footage. Pikes are fairly reliable, even as low as level 30. Pikes are 95% effective at stopping a horse charging head-on. Pike slips only occur about 5% of the time, and those account for the 5% of failures. Out of a test of the pike slip, 110 stabs were done on a horse. Only 6 of those slipped. Pikes reliably stop with a headshot or a torso hit on a horse, with the exception of when they slip. Polearms, in contrast, only stop with a headshot when you're below 90 guard. When you get to 90 guard, after the 40 some odd days it takes, then they will reliably 100% of the time hit with torso and headshot. Pikes, even as low as level 30, have a pretty decent chance of dismounting a lancer. A pike thrust to the head or chest will dismount a lancer about 33% of the time. Like anything else involving probability, you'll have your good streaks and your bad streaks. A lone pikeman's dismount chance isn't great, but multiple stabs from multiple people will stack up and dramatically increase the chance that he's dismounted. Let's make a quick observation on what won't dismount a lancer. My mistake here at the beginning, stabbing the torso when I was aiming for the arm, is a good demonstration of the confusion that can occur where someone thinks they've dismounted somebody with an arm hit, but have not actually hit the arm. Legs are vulnerable, easy to hit targets, especially when lancers are passing by. Evidently, limb hits do not dismount lancers. Let's take a look at another target that has interesting effects on lancer dismounts. Right about now, you're probably thinking shields make you immune. They don't make you immune, but they might reduce the chance you get dismounted, so let's speed up the footage so you can get a better look. I was trying different angles in different areas of the hitbox to see if there were different results. I was almost convinced hitting a shield from straight behind wouldn't dismount a lancer, but this showed otherwise. After crunching the numbers, 52 hits happened. 8 of them dismounted the lancer. That comes out to 15% success at dismounting. Taking a look here through the footage, as it's sped up, you can see every time a torso hit is landed, the horse is not stopped. Every time a headshot is landed, the horse is stopped. Multiple levels were tested and all had the same result before 90 guard. At 78, you can see up there in the top corner, using that Guisarme, the results were the same as the 2 glaives at level 0 guard on the left side and the level 30 partisan in the bottom right. Quick glance at the bottom left glaive, you can see I was testing swings to make sure swings could stop a horse. What overwhelmingly was the problem was I would handle hit the horse, which did successfully stop the horse, but didn't deal out much damage. Next question that comes to mind is how well does a polearm dismount? And the problem is that the chance is so small. I accidentally deleted the footage because I had to, because my hard drive filled up. But it is that rare. It is that rare. And on top of that, a horse, while it's spinning, is likely to push your character away so you can't even get in range to hit them. To make a quick summary of the differences between pikes and polearms, polearms, they can still move, pikes cannot, but polearms can only stop a horse with a headshot. Pikes, on the other hand, will stop 95% of the time with a headshot or a torso hit. And with a pike, when you do stop the horse, you have a chance to hit the rider and dismount him, about 33% chance. At slow speeds, a lancer cannot be stopped by anti-cav, and he also cannot lance. At medium speeds, a polearm will not stop a lancer, but the lancer can still lance. At high speeds, a polearm can stop a lancer, but a lancer can also run people over very easily. At full speed and high speed, a pike would do what you expect it to do. It stops the lancer. Unlike a polearm, a pike can actually stop a lancer at medium speed. At this point, you may be asking yourself, why doesn't anti-cav seem to do as well as we see in the video? Well, basically, there's a couple more factors that cause the theory to not really apply to the real world as well. Three other factors that we're going to look at are avoidance, the concept simply that lancers don't charge at anti-cav very often. The second one is terrain, because certain kinds of terrain can affect whether or not horses are stunned when they are hit by anti-cav. And the third type is simply lag, which you can't do too much to control, but to better understand it will give you a better idea of how to deal with it. Generally, anti-cav players try to defend the whole group around them from lancers. However, attacking lancers laterally is very hard because it's very hard to land a headshot. Lancers are very opportunistic, and they will try to hit infantry who have strayed far from the anti-cav. Therefore, defending your allies often means rushing off to the side to go attack lancers who are going after your friendlies. Below 90 guard, polearms can only stop horses with headshots. Attacking a horse from the side makes it very likely you're going to hit the torso. By the time I finally managed to stop the horse, I was basically in front of it and barely attacking it from the side. So if you take a quick look at the way this pike's stopping the horse is unable to accelerate for about a second or two after it's hit by the pike. Do remember, a horse can spin as soon as its rearing animation is over.
This spot here has been terraformed. The horse is going to jump off of it and it's going to be stopped by the pike. This causes it to be mid-air and it's going to have an influence on the stun. Very characteristic of this problem is the visual glitch in which the horse sinks deep into the ground and then rises back up elsewhere. If you watch closely the next one, you'll see that when the pike stops the horse immediately begins to accelerate off. The visual glitch of the horse sinking into the ground and the very narrow time window to follow up with additional attacks after stopping the horse makes this scenario hard for anti-cav and ideal for lancers. I'd find you well within reason to argue that a cliff is not the same thing as natural terraforming that you'd see, like a hill or something that you might see in IB, but this still does actually happen on hills. Fast horses at high speed spend a lot of time mid-air because they're ramping off of the little bumps in the hill. I was unable to get a headshot going downhill with the horse. When it comes to anti-cav, I wouldn't recommend standing still. A big thing is to get in front of the horse to help improve the chance that you hit in the face. Part of what's going on here is my left hand is controlling my lancer, my right hand is controlling my anti-cav. I don't consider myself a bad anti-cav, but I would say that trying to stop a horse downhill is really difficult when you have to get a headshot.
Oh, the piste de resistance, I now have 90 guard.
So after that fumble of a French accent, it's time to show you a fumble of a couple 90 guard attempts at stopping a horse. Boom, so here we have the 90 guard attacking a horse, hits it in the torso, and it does stop it, unlike before where we were below 90, it wasn't stopping on torso hits. You can see even if you're aiming for the head and miss and end up hitting the torso, when you're at 90 guard, it's extremely forgiving because hitting the torso still stops the horse. Okay, so what's going on there? Those torso hits didn't stop. Well, the horse is moving at a medium speed and not a high speed. Torso hits with a 90 guard weapon on a horse will not stop the horse if the horse is only moving at medium speed. Interesting enough, headshots at medium speed with a guard weapon above 90 do actually stop the horse. And for good measure, we do a quick check to see if slow speed is any different. It's not. I had to go back and see about dismounting again and tried thrusting to the torso. I didn't want to bore you guys, so I didn't add all the footage, but essentially nothing happened except stabbing the hell out of the lancer. After a long streak of nothing happening with the torso, I wasn't expecting headshots to be any different. I was definitely surprised. I managed to dismount this Lancer on the first headshot. What were the chances? Well, somewhere around 18%. After all this testing, I got 3 out of the 16 hits to dismount the Lancer. Looking at the 90 guard tooltip, it says that an overhead has a higher chance of dismounting a Lancer. So I decided I'd heal up and go ahead and test that. The slashing damage from the naked was pretty heavy, so I decided I'd turn around and go ahead and get him some armor. So far the odds are looking good, but it is also important to remember that most Lancers are actually going to be fighting really hard at spinning around and moving around to make sure they don't get hit by you. Here in a minute, I'll show it later, but right now I'm really trying hard to avoid hitting that arm because that's not going to dismount him. Out of the 13 landed overheads, only 1 failed to dismount the Lancer, given around a 7.5% chance that it fails. I was too close to dying, so I went ahead and leaned back so I could show my character's chest. Like I've been repeating over and over, here I go to demonstrate once again that limb hits do not dismount a Lancer. If your goal is just to have some anti-cav on hand to protect yourself, I'd highly recommend the 90 skill point investment I call the budget anti-cav. This gives you the short pike or the glaive, which you can use as a personal defense weapon to protect yourself from enemy Lancers. You're not going to be the most effective anti-cav, and you're definitely not going to be the guy everybody's looking to rely on to stop horses for them, but you'll definitely keep yourself alive with it. Practice with the glaive will let you get headshots and stop horses while still remaining mobile, which the pike can't do. But you're not going to be able to dismount very many Lancers that you've went ahead and stopped. The short pike, on the other hand, has a great chance of dismounting enemy Lancers. and it can stop horses moving at medium speeds. It's fairly reliable and not a bad choice. As a downside, the short pike immobilizes you when you try to walk, and the range isn't very good. Personally, I like the short pike. I like the reliability and I like the chance to dismount. The medium pike is a good choice for those who want to increase their damage output as well as increase their range. The only real disadvantage the medium pike has over the short pike is the investment, not just the 30 skill point investment, but the time investment. One of the big issues with the medium pike is the slow attack. That slow attack makes you very vulnerable while you're immobilized, and if you're not dedicated to practicing it, you're just going to struggle and you're going to hurt yourself more. To put it bluntly, if you're sitting here trying to decide what anti-cav weapon you're going to use with this video, you're probably not a person who's going to want to do the long pike. The problem with the long pike is the heavy amount of practice you have to put into it before it becomes anywhere remotely worthwhile. With the very slow immobile attack, and the problem is the reach is so hard to judge. That is an additional problem, and it's not one that can be solved with anything but practice. If you do decide to dedicate the time needed for the long pike, you'll discover that the reach is pretty wonderful. It can allow you to assist people from far away by stopping or dismounting lancers, and you'll notice that it hits like a truck. All the options I've shown you thus far can pretty easily be hybridized with other classes like berserkers or swordsmen. On the other hand, we've got 210 points to invest to go to 90 guard. While the budget anti-cav classes I've shown can be acquired in just 25.5 hours, the 90 guard skill can only be acquired after about 40 days of non-stop grind. Unfortunately, in the anti-cav world, there's no milestones along the way from 0 guard to 90 guard. A 0 guard glaive is just as effective at stopping horses as an 80 guard guisarme, and it's painful. Personally, when it comes to guard, I would recommend 0 or 90, nothing in between. There's no point at stopping anywhere in between.